You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
This is Hardware is Forever. Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. And Jay, welcome back. It's always great to be with you. I'm looking forward to this conversation. We were just talking. We're going to start kind of a mini series, everybody. We're gonna start to break down the teachings, the philosophies, the practical applications of Dr. W. Edwards Deming. And we're just going to dive right into what that means. So, hey, Jay, and introduce us. Who is Deming? Why is it on your radar? And I don't know, what's sticking out to you as this is something we really want to investigate and talk about?
So, I think, we've been on this, started our journey about 2 or 3 years ago on our EOS journey. And that has led us to getting introduced to a lot of different experts and guides. And I think we talked about that in the past, is surrounding yourself with people with experience. And it has been one of those things where every time I talk to somebody who has worked in manufacturing or in hardware, whether it's on the development side or the manufacturing side or the, execution side or future planning side, Deming's name comes up. And I've been hearing it independently from so many different people that I had to really take time and dive into it and kind of become a student of this person whose name continuously keeps on popping up. And I think this is one of the first things that we're going to do. Am I an expert? Absolutely not. Are we going on a journey together? Yes. Are we learning? Yes. But I think this is something that, will benefit me in learning, and then hopefully, be able to show what Deming can really do on in depth of this. So the idea is that, like you said, we're kind of creating a mini series or this chapter on Deming. So I got introduced to Deming because all the smart people around me and all the successful people around me pointed at Deming. And so who is Deming? Deming is considered the guru or godfather or whatever term, trailblazer of the concept of quality in organizations. So it is not just, quality of product. It is designing quality into processes so we can get our end result. So one of the famous things that Deming says is you cannot inspect your way into product conformity. You have to create a process. So all these different things that he introduced are his 14 principles. And Deming, like anybody, like any visionary, Deming found a niche, was accepted, and then shunned. And then he created success in a different area and then came back and was considered mainstream. So it was not an easy journey for Dr. Deming either. I think when he went through his process of introducing it, it was groundbreaking. It was trailblazing, and the industry wasn't really ready for it at that time. He was a student in Chicago, from what I understand. He worked in some companies and some factories. He initially brought up the concept of statistical process control, which was leveraged during World War II to increase the yield and quality for the resources needed to win World War II. And then after that, he was tasked to go to Japan and kind of bring them back up. And at that time, somewhere along the way, he implemented his 14 principles and his philosophy. And really, it was not domestically in America. He was not accepted right away. However, he did have success in Japan, and Japan, the Japanese industries accepted him. And we all know the story of, Japanese industry and the quality and the level of execution, and even the price points that are out there can't be compared to the margins that the Japanese automotive companies, their quality, their margin, their reliability, the longevity of the vehicles. Can't be matched right now. I mean, other non-Japanese automotive companies have been close, but they're the ones who really set the standard. And then after that, he was recognized in, his, after the Japanese industry did really well, I think American industry and the world really had to say, okay, what is this guy doing? This is the secret sauce. We should pay attention to him. And he came in and implemented and helped a lot of companies outside implement these processes. And, he's developed the Deming Institute. He's numerous books, numerous use cases, numerous videos that are still relevant in manufacturing today. So, I mean, for that, just that journey, whether he was relevant to manufacturing or not, but just to see a person's life, an innovator, go through the struggle, not being accepted wholeheartedly, having to prove themselves, and then becoming the standard, the mainstream of industry, I think is a phenomenal story in itself. And I think as we go down, we'll find more and more about Dr. Deming, but just his process-oriented approach to quality has revolutionized the world. I mean, it's just changed the face of the world. We don't really realize, like, how can a process and an approach change everything? But the cell phones that we have, the price point that we buy it for, the laptops that we use, the vehicles that we drive, the lighting that we have in our house, the carpet and the flooring that we have, it's all affected by Dr. Deming's principles.
You have raised such an interesting topic for us to talk about, and let's unpack a couple things. You mentioned something I want to get to, but so Edwards Deming was he kind of his thinking started to come to fruition in the 30s, and then, as you said, sort of post-war Japan is where they started to institute or implement these things. I'm reminded a little bit of Peter Drucker, who's considered kind of the father of modern management, but he was born in 1909. He was also doing this stuff in like the 30s and the 40s. So one question I have for you is, there's something very elegant about and timeless about these people who were making significant impact 80 years ago, and 90 years ago. And the things that they put into place, the ideas they had are still resonant. They're still relevant. Talk to me a little bit about that, because as I know you, flash in the pan is not interesting to you. You're looking for a sustainable sort of cultural impact around quality, but also around kind of a sustainable way of doing business or life or whatever. And this seems to be aligned with that. Talk to me just a little bit about your point of view on how is it or why is it that this timeless thinking supersedes fads, supersedes, flavor of the month, the technology advancements, the industries that are advancing. Doesn't matter. These things still apply.
Well, I think, we talked about in the past, we're a people business. And I think, thinking about these principles and distilling it down to these 14 points really, really leverages our unique capabilities the best. We're not machines. Okay. We're people. And when we understand what we're capable of and put ourselves in a position to succeed, we can do amazing things. And I think, the original thought was, how do you create quality product? Well, you have to inspect, and we will, we only will pay for product that passes conformity. Otherwise, the operator does not get paid for that. So it's more of a fear-oriented, instant gratification type of thing, where the leadership didn't have a lot of buy into it, or leadership just said, hey, you do it, you figure it out, and we'll make money. And if we don't, you're paying for it, you're not getting paid. So I think that type of approach is very short term. It's very fear-based. It's not progressive, and it's not growth oriented. And I think when Deming kind of realized that and saw it and observed it and used data and used our ability to analyze things, I don't know what, I don't know what the formal term for it is, but when we use our executive function to approach a problem and find a long-term solution for it, I think that's where Deming made a huge impact, and how he differentiates himself. And with him, along with Drucker and himself, I think they were at an inflection point where industry was, the industrialized society was what was growing rapidly on a global scale. And we just needed something like that to make sure that we just don't keep on doing things the wrong way. And, people like Drucker and Deming and others have observed that and been able to implement those things at the time that it was needed.
Deming has 14 points of management, and we're going to talk more about those. We're going to get into those. But you're referencing one where he's talking about, you mentioned inspection. And what's interesting there is maybe the status quo was, and we could argue that sometimes it remains, that the point of quality control is at the very end, when somebody reviews this thing, when somebody examines this thing and either puts it in the pass or the fail bucket. And part of what Deming has said is, no, quality has to be built in to every aspect, to every point of this, from the ideation and design all the way through production and manufacturing. That's very aligned with how you're thinking. What sparked kind of this aha for you? Because was it either Deming was giving language to things that you had always sort of, oh yeah, this is how I like to think and how I like to operate the business and how our leadership likes to do this? Or was it introducing you to, I had never thought of this before, and I'm going to just kind of soak this in? Like, where did that hit you when you started to get introduced to these ideas?
I think it was just a new paradigm of looking at life and approaching manufacturing. I think it was just like, oh my God, it has to be done this way to make it sustainable. It has to be done this way. Like, a lot of it is counterintuitive to what we've seen and what we've been taught, and what is expected. But it was just like, okay, this is a long-term play, and we're going to have to invest a lot of time, effort, and creativity into doing this. And the nice thing is that it's been done before. The Toyota way is huge, and it is, they call it the machine that changed the world. And I think it's been validated. It's just we have to go through the process of validating it. And really, like, when I'm thinking about it more and more, like why are we talking about this in Hardware is Forever? Like, how is it relevant?
Yeah.
And the reason why it's relevant is, number one, is because I want to learn about it. So why not? Let's just do it together. Number two is, like, why for Hardware Forever is because, why quality? How does that relate to Hardware is Forever? Well, I think, when you have good quality product that is executed properly, that is built repeatedly, and works in the field, you create markets, you bring the price point down and open up, make it more accessible to everybody. You reduce waste. So you're talking about environmental waste. You're talking about transportation waste. You're talking about all these different things that benefit, the world directly. And because you have things that, because you're not firefighting and you're not focusing on trying to create good product, inspect good product, but just build good product, you have now resources available to innovate and improve. So, would we have gotten to the iPhone and, this, smartphones and smart devices and, the technology that we have? Yes. But could we say that Deming directly or indirectly accelerated that? Yes. I think, a lot of things that we have is because we've learned how to build hardware that has allowed our resources and talent to be used to innovate and bring solutions to us on a global scale. And I think that, things like Deming and things like Drucker, when you do the right things, the right things happen. And there's a lot of collateral benefits that we may not realize. Like, yeah, as an organization, if I implement Deming, am I going to grow my business? Yes. Am I going to increase my profitability? Yes. Am I going to create a better workforce? Yes. all that stuff happens to me directly. But when this is compounded at a macro scale, we all win. Everybody wins because of this. So I think, that's what, when I started thinking about Deming and Deming's dent in the world and history, he's one of those unsung heroes that people don't really talk about, but statistical process control is him, and without that, we would be generating waste. Our yield wouldn't be as good. We wouldn't be as detail oriented. We wouldn't have created technologies to be able to assist in the manufacturing process and processes that and trainings that set up individuals to be successful at what they do. So I think it's, his contributions don't get appreciated as much as they should. He should be a household name. When we talk about all the great innovators and industrialists, when we talk about Dale Carnegie, and when we talk about, currently, when we talk about Steve Jobs, all those people get, they get celebrated. But without these foundational principles that Deming brought up, would they be able to do the things that they do? Maybe, maybe not. But Deming is definitely made their ability to innovate that much easier and removed a roadblock from them. So I think Deming should be celebrated. Deming should be understood. Whether we do that or not is really irrelevant. I think we're going to go on our journey and learn about Deming and see how much we can learn from him and implement it in our organization.
I love it. Here's what our roadmap looks like, everybody. We're gonna spend the next several episodes on Deming's 14 points. We're going to look at them together, sort of collectively, and then we're going to break them each down, and we're just going to talk about those. So if you are interested in this, if this is an area of intrigue for you, join us, hit the subscribe, because we are for sure going to have some interesting conversations for the next several weeks as we
and Chris, I was just doing some searching, YouTube and all that kind of stuff, and online and articles. Deming's not really talked about too much, man. So it's like let's bring it back. I think it'll be fun.
We're going to talk about it.
It's going to be fun.
All right, Jay, I'm looking forward to the next conversation of
all right, cool.
All the things Deming. All right, man?
All right.
Thanks for joining us. And a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube.